Very recently I made a video about navigating Vi's guilt in season 2 of Arcane, the way she's possibly gonna handle it, how it all connects to Jinx's wrongdoings and how it justifies Vi eventually joining the Enforcers, ultimately betraying Jinx in her own eyes, and possibly betraying Zorn in the eyes of Ekko if his voice lines are any hint.
You'll always be Zorn to me.
This video is a corresponding one, and this time I want to briefly focus on how Ekko's gonna narrate his role in season 2. No doubt changed now that he joined forces with Heimerdinger. Who's gonna save Jinx, if that's not gonna be Vi? If anyone at all? Is Powder still in there? Does she even wanna be saved? Speaking of the phrase saving, and addressing Ekko's possible part and what's to come, we have to circle back all the way to Arcane Part 3 Episode 7 titled Boy Savior. It's then when Ekko, while joining forces with Vi and Caitlyn, expressed his strong conviction that Jinx is forever gone.
Your sister works for him not because she has to, but because she wants to. I'm sorry, but that's who she is now.
Maybe even a stronger one that the show provided context for. Soon after, in possibly one of the most poetical scenes of the show, he realizes that Powder is, in fact, there. That very moment not only hits harder because it's friends fighting each other, but because visually it's been suggested, it's still just two little kids that possibly used to be close. Possibly one had a crush on the other. Two kids that got separated under the most violent circumstances, after which one had to endure on their own, and one was taken by show's antagonist and heavily influenced into what she eventually became. During what can only be described as show's most prominent scene, Ekko hesitates. He suddenly sees Powder. It's subtle, but Fortige did not fail to deliver. A moment that Jinx immediately used against him, once again failing him. Episode's title itself still does not make much sense at this point unless treated ironically. Ekko does not save anyone at this point, and Jinx mockingly calling him Boy Savior felt like it lacked wider context. We can surely assume she meant him trying to save Zornites from Shimmer, from the Camp Barons, to create a community for them. But at the same time, it felt like there's surely more to it. And in fact there was. In one of the interviews, developers mentioned that there was a certain scene cut out from episode because it was too long. They also mentioned that maybe it's for the best, which makes me think that this very scene could have included a season 2 foreshadow of a kind.
There was another scene in episode 7.
Yeah.
That unfortunately,
Or fortunately.
yeah, who knows, didn't make it because the episode was just too long. But it was a flashback to the time when, I guess shortly after, episode 3, when Ekko, you would kind of see, how Ekko would kind of start building this community, and he would actually try to find Powder, and save her, and just something very dramatic happened between them. It definitely, for me, cemented a lot of their relationship, and I don't know, hopefully we can still explore it at some point in the future, because it was just it's really cool.
If Ekko at one point between parts 1 and 2 of the show tried to save Jinx, tried to fight for Powder, but was rejected, then he'd have every right to be as certain there's no point for Vi to try and do the same thing. It'd be way more understandable that he seemed to give up so easily, because he has been down that path before. And on the other hand, Jinx would have every right to mock him for showing up again, this time saving Caitlyn and Vi, without meaning just his character's traits, but also his past actions. Despite Ekko's lack of willingness to help Jinx, we can also find out from his League of Legends and Legends of Runeterra, Ekko and Jinx voice lines, that not only he still misses her, but he used to have a crush on her, which makes their bridge fight even more tragic and impactful.
I had a crush, until you started talking to the gun.
Man, I miss you so much.
Ekko realizes that regardless of his earlier conviction, she is still there, which means that maybe he could have done more, maybe he should have tried harder, maybe he was wrong, and what is he gonna do with that knowledge? We know that he's a Zonite to his very core, but also he holds Zonites to certain standards, which Jinx surely is not representing at the moment. But is he gonna stand by and watch Enforcers attack streets of Zorn in search of Jinx, led by not only Caitlyn, but also Vi? To circle back, Ekko might not be as on board with Piltover as Vi currently is.
One day, you'll come back to Zahn.
At the same time, he's gonna cooperate with Heimerdinger, someone representing the very essence of Piltover, former member council, and someone very much responsible for the antagonism between both cities. How will this influence Season 2 plot? While working together, Ekko will surely upgrade his inventive skills, going as far as creating his League of Legends device, Z-Drive, that allows him to go back in time just a few seconds. And isn't this the most poetical thing about him and Jinx? On one hand, he's still that boy who had feelings for Powder, and Jinx is still just a lost girl that Ekko might try to bring back in Season 2. Maybe, just maybe, it's gonna be precisely Ekko that's gonna make an effort.
I'm glad it's you. Had to be you.
And make up for his failed attempt that we didn't see. Maybe we will still see it as a flashback in Season 2. And maybe this time he will become an actual boy savior. Thank you so much for watching, I appreciate it, and as always I'm looking forward to reading your comments.